Hey guys, welcome to another Scrawlrbox unboxing. I feel like it's been a while since we've opened one of these. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. Either way, what's inside? Ooh, those look like pastel colors. Here we have some of that like doodle art that I suck at. I hope it doesn't tell me to make that. This was made by SpotGirlDesign or Anne Pellegrino. I've always liked looking at this stuff, but I've never been good at making it myself. So there's the art for this month. We also have some paper. Can I not pick that up? Oh, there's several sheets of paper in here. Just give them to me. Kind of look like marker paper or Bristol board, but it'll say on the menu, which should be in here somewhere. Let's open up the art supplies, the best part. This is funny because I just did a video with Sharpies and I said, I have no black Sharpies. Well, now I do. We have a We have a Sharpie fine point and then a Sharpie in ultra fine, both in the color black. This is a silver pentelic paint marker. Super silver, extra fine point. Also in here, there is the Pilot Friction Ball. Oh, I think I have one of these. I have it in purple. It's like an erasable highlighter. Nope, it's a pen. I take it back. I don't know what I'm talking about. But is it erasable? I was right about that. I'm not completely crazy. So we have an erasable pen. Oh, the candy looks rainbowy. This is a Glacier Fruits. This is the subscription box that comes from the UK. And I live in the US, so it's always fun to see the candy. So here's the menu where it lists all the different art supplies. We have a Scrawlrbox sticker. And lastly, this looks like the fun bit, eh? Look at those pastel colors. These are probably the highlighters that I was talking about earlier, right? They're erasable. They're so cute. They like make me think of ice cream, like a pastel rainbow. We have yellow, purple, blue, green, and pink. And a little postcard to make your New Year's resolutions. Draw every day. I draw almost every day. That's good enough for me. You don't want to get burnt out either. There's a fine line between pushing yourself too hard and downright dying because you want to achieve your goals. I don't know which ones you should be striving for, personally. Whichever one you can handle, I guess. You'd actually be surprised which ones you can handle, though, given the right opportunity. All right, let's test these all out. So these are actually removed by friction, which is why they're called the friction pen. It's very interesting. The erasability is actually really impressive. Then we have our basic old Sharpie, not erasable. And lastly, the art supply I've never tried before, so I'm super excited about, is the Pentel paint marker. Super silver, extra fine point. Actually, there's some instructions on here I need to read. Ooh, it kind of bleeds outwards a little bit. Let me zoom in on that. It's a little bit hard to see. It was very similar to the color of the actual paper, but in person, the shimmer is super obvious. It's really weird when you draw with it. It's almost like you can see like it's casting a shadow. That's a cool experience. So there's all the art supplies in this month's box along with the paper. Do they list what the paper is? It's Norfolk Cartridge paper, 210 GSM, acid-free, wood-free, and has a white matte surface. But the question is, did the Sharpie bleed through it onto my desk? Nope, doesn't look like it. But I want you to make sure you can see the shininess. Ooh la la! Funny story, back in the day, highlighters were like the only thing I'd use to color because I liked how pastel they were and how well they looked with like almost any line art. And like you'd always see the line art really nicely like underneath them. So you could have like those details in your drawings and like the color wouldn't take away from that. And the cool thing about highlighters is usually you can actually build them up and get darker tones. Alright, it's not me, I don't know. These don't work quite the same as highlighters I'm used to. These are kind of creating some kind of ink that you can push around. Doesn't layer too well, but it erases, which is always a cool thing. The highlighters I used to always use, actually I have some right here, were these Papermate ones. I only picked them because it was like one of the only packs that came with a purple highlighter, but there was like yellow, orange, pink, green, and I think purple. And I used those for a lot, I think in some of my old sketchbook tours. There was probably like a year or two span where that's like the only thing I used to color anything. Because I was mostly a digital artist, and when it came to sketchbooks, I just liked those little pops of color. What I'm thinking is the highlighter is gonna look best on like large areas of Sharpie. Let me see here. Like if I color in like a cube or square, a Sharpie, and then take the paint marker on top of that. That's when you're gonna see it, yeah. Okay. Knowing that, I'm kind of getting inspired to draw something. What was the challenge word? That might be a good place to start. Pastel Petals. Is that bringing me anything? Petals can look so different. There's all sorts of different petal shapes. I'm in love with these colors. They almost look better without a line art on them. And they're very like springtime colors, even though we're in the middle of winter. I'm turning into the Tin Man. What if the petals aren't on a flower, but on a person? And make a long skinny neck, kind of imitating like a stem? I don't know. Just brainstorming here. There's no such thing as a bad idea when you're brainstorming, because you never know what'll lead you to where. Organic texture. Interesting, but it doesn't really feel like it's my style, you know? And I don't see how in this idea I can use the metallic marker. And I really want to try and use every single art supply in this box. Here's a weird idea, but what about a flower that's half biotech, you know? Like has a mechanical petal? Maybe it's some important flower that's supposed to last forever and it got injured, so the scientists in charge of keeping this flower alive gave it an extra petal so it could do, you know, photosynthesis. But the extra petal's made of metal? I don't know. So it'd have like circuits. And then our metallic petal would probably be filled in with Sharpie. And then all those little designs can be added with the paint pen. Something like that. I'm actually really liking the way that looks, and if I draw it bigger I can get more details with this pen because it's only a certain width. Now it's got me thinking. A dangerous pastime. I know. Still trying to grasp an idea here. My favorite thing in this box this month is definitely this paint marker. The other stuff, you know, it gives me that not quite art supplies vibe, even though I did say earlier that that's the only art supply I used to use. But I didn't really consider myself a traditional artist, so it's more like school supplies that I just use to make art. And when it comes to using those sort of things, it's like just using what's around you to make something instead of having to go out and buy stuff. Getting this in a subscription box kind of feels a little meh to me, especially when Art Snacks and Paletful have had really good boxes, you know, the last couple months. See, this pen is really cool. You can get some crazy texture differences. Like this sticker is kind of matte, but the paint is shiny, and you can draw a funny pattern on it. Look at that, look at it, look at it. I can't stop. Maybe some inspiration from the candy. And you really can't layer them, which is what I'm finding really disappointing. See if I show you the highlighters I usually use for this. See if I draw a pink, and then I use a purple on top. You can layer them and create shading. You cannot do that with these, and these honestly aren't even highlighty. Look how vibrant that is, and then look how flat that is. Although, in defense of these, highlighters do fade over time, and maybe these don't. Maybe these just stay just this amount always. Is that what this one looked like? Yeah, I guess it was. What about a superhero named Petals? I'm grasping at straws at this point. I don't know, I like drawing characters, so I definitely want to stick to that. It's erasable, right? Nope, this, wait. Oh, there it is. Nice generic superhero pose with some hands like that. Maybe she's kind of like a hippie, you know, flower power. Her slogan could be petal power. She'll like shoot petals at you, like. You know, as they get close to the camera, they're gonna get a lot bigger. Probably change the hair to kind of follow this curve here. Maybe she's got some like gladiator sandals. Okay, the erasable pen is kind of cool. The highlighters, I think they'd be cooler, you know, for school. They're just not good enough quality really for art, in my opinion. I think I need to look up some references of petals. I like her. She's a bit of a joke, but she's also really fun to draw. So let me see if I can come up with like a cooler pose. Kind of shows those petal powers a little better. Sketch it out with the friction pen. Kind of doing like almost Team Rocket pose. Ooh, what if we pull her hair down even farther, like over her eyes? And the other leg with her gladiator sandals here. Oh, did we forget the flower in her hair? I'm trying to erase some of these lines that are kind of confusing me. Her dress should probably have like a floral pattern on it. Doesn't have to be super complicated. Just scribbles I think will do, as long as they're floral scribbles. Alright, so then we should have some petals coming up this way. Now the dress isn't supposed to be super form-fitting, but I'm also losing some shape and I feel like it's making it kind of confusing. So I'm not sure if I should try and slim it down a bit. Petals, just for the background, kind of fill it out a little bit more. Voila! I think my favorite part is actually the face. I like the way the bangs come down in front of her eyes. So now what I need to do is go in maybe with the Sharpie. Pick all my favorite lines and make them permanent. I don't mind keeping some of the lines because they do add some fun texture, but I just want to see what happens here. Add some more depth to some of these line arts. Or there might be shadows being cast by like the flower. I'll outline everything with the fine Sharpie. Well, and this I believe we colored in. Yeah, I colored that in solid, so I can just fill that in. And this one as well. Tassels or fringe or whatever is on the end of this. Actually, usually isn't the line going up through the front of these. Not gonna lie, it's nice to have a real Sharpie on my hands for once. I feel like we need another big petal down here. Alright, now to add some color, try and go with a sort of light style that lets the white show through in certain places. I wonder if I could take the purple, try again and add shading if I'm really careful. Not to the extent I'm used to, and you can't like rub it, you have to just place it and leave it, and whatever you end up with is what you get. Maybe she has braces. I can add like the little brackets on her sandals. Maybe we can add some design to this since it's the only thing that's solid black. It's like the action lines, but they also get swirly at the end. So like maybe one's right here, and then it would swirl out like that. Not super obvious, but they're there. You can make them even more obvious by giving them a shadow. Not crazy about that. I think I might actually just like to go over the whole thing with the fine point Sharpie. Maybe even leave some of the green ones and to continue to lead the eye in the right direction. This is actually kind of interesting. It doesn't really look like anything I've drawn before. And I like the little pastel pops of color along with like the solid black and harsh line art. I think it looks kind of cool. And then like the shiny metallic. I kind of wish I'd found a cooler way to sort of incorporate the metallic. I'd actually probably add a couple designs to the dress. They'll blend in so they won't be super noticeable, but then they'll show up when you like, you know, turn the page and there'll be that shininess. Just a little added texture, you know? I left the flower up here white. I have like a doodle texture on them. That's how you know they're being controlled by her magic or her superpowers. It's kind of interesting. They don't show a lot. They're very subtle, but I think it's kind of interesting. Kind of the same texture that's on her dress, so that they're a little more matchy. Just put it on the big ones where you can see it. I really like this. It doesn't look anything like things I've drawn before because I like the style with the line art. but I like it. It has that kind of cartoony comic booky vibe, and I really like that about it. And since she's supposed to be like a superhero, it kind of fits. Here we have Petals. About to go attack someone who's not recycling, who just threw a water bottle on the side of the road. Ah! I wasn't super crazy about the art supplies that came in this month's box, but I'll definitely get some use out of the black Sharpie, and I can't wait to find a really cool way to use this metallic paint marker. And I kind of want to look into these and see what other colors maybe they make, so this was really, really cool. I want to thank Scrawlrbox for sending me these boxes to try out and to share with all of you. I really do enjoy opening them up and finding little surprises inside. Oh, I didn't put these on the right caps, but I'm going to leave them that way. I think they look kind of cool. How confusing is that? I want to thank you guys for watching. If any of you are interested in getting your own Scrawlrbox subscription, I'd suggest it more if you live in the UK since you get free shipping there. If you live in the US, it's a pretty penny to get it shipped. I'll have a link in the description where you can check out Scrawlrbox. Try one more thing. Had like a shadow. That was worth a shot. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I hope you'll have a delicious evening full of waffles. Bye.